Well, I'll tell you what, Jalen Hurts has proven me wrong. I mean, the guy's, and I said this, he's the type of player that whether it's doing radio or TV or business or sales or any business that you have, you get Jalen Hurts on your team and he's going to make you better. He's just got that it factor about him. He's a winner.
National Football Show, your boy Dan Sileo. Jonathan Gannon versus Tom Brady this weekend. Okay? Defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles got quite a task on his hands because Tom Brady has seen everything that coordinators have thrown at him for over 2 decades. What will change, okay, that dynamic for Jonathan Gannon this weekend at Raymond James? I think it's, again, inside pressure. Move him off his point. How do you defend against a guy like Tom Brady? Only guy I can think of to ask these questions to, a guy who won a couple Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, our friend from Fox Sports, our dear friend, and privileged to have played for him, Dave Wannstedt. Coach, I appreciate you jumping aboard with us here. I just threw this out to everybody out here, and as you know, we cover kind of Philadelphia now, and we cover the Eagles here. What is the best way you think there is to defend Tom Brady?
Well, you hit on it, Danny. In fact, Philadelphia has a history of it. I'm sure they'll be looking back at that, that Super Bowl a few years back when they actually beat them. But really, I mean, and I faced Tom. I remember his first road game as a rookie. I was the head coach of the Dolphins, and we played him in Miami. And I think Tom threw for 80 yards, and we beat him pretty good. And I was walking off the field, and my defensive coordinator turned to me and said, "Coach, what do you think about their young quarterback?" And my comment was, "Oh, I think he's probably just another guy." That's why I'm sitting here doing this show with you, Dan. Okay,
Coach. I think they have all the dynamics, Coach, to make this an interesting game. And kind of to expand on what you were saying, they're the number 1 rushing attack in the NFL when it comes to keeping him on the sidelines. If I'm running the ball, Coach, at 4-5 a clip, that means I'm keeping them and limiting them in possessions. And on top of that, since week 8, Jonathan Gannon's defense has given up 18 or fewer points, and they've got the second best record to the 49ers, who are 8-3. They're 7-4. I mean, they've really turned it around defensively. So they've got a fighter's chance in this game on Sunday. Do you think?
I think they do. But I tell you what, you mentioned it. Tom Brady, I mean, we know how good he is. I wouldn't bet against. If someone says, who's your favorite in the NFC right now, I can come up with reasons why it's Green Bay. I can come up for reasons why it's Dallas, Arizona. Probably the fewest reasons might be Tampa, but yet the biggest reason is Tampa, Tom Brady. So I'm not going to bet against Tom. But I look at this game, and traditionally, if you look back, Tampa Bay has been as good as stopping the run as anybody in the NFL. Now, they're not as good this year. That's the matchup. I mean, and you say Philadelphia's defense is playing better. Absolutely. I mean, no question about it. But a lot has to do with because they're running the ball and they're keeping that defense rested and they're not taking negative plays. All, as you know, Danny, I mean, all that stuff helps the defense. A lot of these head coaches don't get it. I think the guy at Philadelphia obviously does. So the matchup in my mind is going to be Philadelphia's run attack versus the run defense. I mean, of Tampa Bay, because Tampa's going to find a way to score points. Leonard Fournette is going to play this week. He practiced today. Levante David, who I think was a big part of that defense missing, he's going to be back for the Bucs. They're going to get their 2 pass rushers back this week. So the whole key is if they can stop the run, and now Jalen Hurts has to throw the ball, and it's longer yardage on third down, boy, Tom's going to find a way. Tampa's going to find a way to score points. And the one thing that we all know Philly can't do, you're not going to get into a shootout with Tampa Bay and Tom Brady down there. I mean, you're not going to win that one.
Coach, everybody in Philly's going. The rivalries between the Cowboys and Jimmy and your teams back in the day, the body bag game, all that stuff. I mean, that was the heyday of that rivalry, I thought, with those two teams playing against one another in that Kelly Green Eagle gear and the Cowboys going back and forth. There's a lot of trash talking.
Oh God, was there ever? And you talk about physical games. If you forgot your mouthpiece for that game, you were going to lose all your teeth. Trust me. I mean, it was that type of game. And I remember when we first got to Dallas, and we were struggling, as you know, and we were getting ready to play the Eagles. And Buddy Ryan came out and said, and I don't know if he was being funny or if he was really jabbing Jimmy or what, but he said, Jimmy Johnson's going to find out that there's no East Carolinas in this NFL. So we're sitting around a staff room, and Jimmy reads it, and we're all kind of on edge now. It's okay. This is a game we're going to play fine. We'll be. When Tony Wise, as only Tony can do it, he says, you know what? Buddy Ryan is wrong. There are East Carolinas in the NFL. We're the East Carolina. And Jimmy halfway laughed about it. And but no, we had some great games against them. And obviously, I mean, that was the one we had to win on our Super Bowl march. We had to beat the Eagles to take the next step and go beat San Francisco.
Coach, your thoughts on Jalen Hurts' year? He's a Pro Bowl alternate. He's only one of 7 players to throw for 3,000 yards and run for over 750. Winning record in his first year as a starting quarterback. I had Coach Johnson on a couple weeks ago. He's not sure he's the answer there at that position yet in the long term for the Eagles. How do you see Jalen Hurts?
You know what I said on our first NFL Fox show on Sundays, which we do? We're on the hour before Jimmy, 11 o'clock Eastern. People tune in. I made the comment because we were talking about this situation, and I said, Philly's got all these number 1 draft picks next year. I think that they're going to play Jalen Hurts, and then they're going to bring in Gardner Minshew, and they're going to see which one of these 2 guys is the backup, and then go draft one. That's the thought that I had at the beginning of the season. Well, I'll tell you what, Jalen Hurts has proven me wrong. I mean, the guys, and I said this, he's the type of player that whether it's doing radio or TV or business or sales or any business that you have, you get Jalen Hurts on your team and he's going to make you better. He's just got that it factor about him. He's a winner. He's got character. He's got the work ethic. And I think he proved that with his college career, and he's proven it against now. Is he ever going to be the guy? And I know what Jimmy's coming down to, and we're going to find out Sunday. I mean, now all of a sudden it's changed. Now you're going to have to be Dallas with Dak or Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady this week. That's what separates the guys from being a good player and a guy that can get you to the next level.
Coach, I said this week too. One more last comment on this thing here. I said, when you come out of college, Coach, as you know, when you go into the draft, there's always a narrative on you. Oh, he's a late round guy, or he was a second round pick. He's a little short here. Maybe he's not sure if we're looking at him stature wise. Drew Brees had that. Russell Wilson did. Here's a game where you're playing against the GOAT. You're going against Brady. You could change the complete narrative of how the league and how your even front office thinks of you if you win a game like this. Is that right, Coach? The whole narrative can change on this Sunday night.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question because we all know the stress that's involved for players, coaches, for everybody when you get to the playoffs. I mean, it's truly one and done. But now you sit there. And I remember our first playoff run at Dallas. I remember sitting there saying, God, we are playing for the Super Bowl now. So it brings a level of stress to most individuals that's not there during the regular season. So you combine that with playing Tom Brady and playing him on the road down there in Tampa. The guy's got a big stage and got a great opportunity. He really does.
Coach, I want to throw this at you. You know, having gone through the coaching interview process, I just wonder what all these coaches look at when you're looking at a potential job. There's going to be Doug Peterson out there. Brian Flores is getting interviews. But I want to read you some names here. Bob McAdoo, Steve Spagnuolo, Pat Shurmur, and now Joe Judge. You know, you could say all the things you want about the New York Giants and how great the Maras were back with Wellington. And, you know, they won a couple with John Mara there as the owner and the Tishes and all this and that. But they had Reese in the room. I mean, this is not a coaching issue in New York, in my opinion. When I read those names since 2017, this is more of a front office issue. Do you agree? It's not really Judge. It's not the coaches. I just named you 4 coaches since 2017 that have been blown out in New York. Coach, I mean, this is usually a winning franchise. Do you think it's a front office issue?
Well, you know what? I would sit back, Danny, and I would say, who's making the decision? I can tell you this. When I interviewed with the Giants and had an opportunity to take a job there after Dallas Super Bowl, the guy that I spent all day with on the interview process was George Young, you know, the Hall of Fame general manager. And George was going to take my interview and information to the Maros and Mr. Tisch and talk about whether I would be the guy to be offered a job or not. So I don't know now, was Dave Gettleman playing that same role? You know, were the Maros involved? You know, I mean, I don't know. I can't answer that question. If you said to me, hey, they ran it the exact same way as when George Young was there, then it's easy. You know, that Gettleman just didn't do a very good job of picking coaches. You know, now if it's coming back and Mara and Tisch and everybody's involved in all these interviews and whoever else, well, now, you know, it's a little bit like the Bears situation.
Well, do you agree then, Coach? Then it's more important almost that who the general manager is than really the owner, because the owner's going to take the intel that the GM gives him, and he hired him. And if you're getting poor intel, say because look, I mean, you look at the Miami situation. I thought Brian Flores really started turning it around, even in year 1 when they started beating teams like Philly, and you saw what they were doing to Seattle. Then the next year they had a winning year. This last year they had a winning year. But the conflicts, like we saw it with Coach Johnson. I mean, Coach Johnson butting heads with Jerry. I mean, Jerry just happened to be the GM at the time, so there was a major conflict. But how much does that process get in the way, Coach, when you got a general manager that kind of makes the decisions for the owner, and he's not been making clear and really good decisions here? I mean, that's got to be something all these coaches look at.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that, you know, every organization is run a little bit differently. I mean, I think we always got to keep that in mind, too. There's some organizations that, you know, that the owners are going to keep distance and the GM is going to do what you're talking about, Danny. But there's other ones where the owner is going to be involved a little bit more than maybe what you think. And then there's the Dallas situations where Jerry is the guy, you know. So I think, and that would be an interesting question for the Giants. What's your selection committee? Who is in on this process? And I don't even know this. I mean, are they getting an outside search firm? Or are they going to do it internally? Okay, you're going to do it internally. So tell me who's going to be sitting around the room when this guy comes in. It's pretty simple to me.
I could just, hey, Coach Johnson, do you have an outside source? No.
Yeah.
Ain't no outside call. You're going to consult Coach? No. You call me to consult. That ain't working for Coach Johnson here. What would be, Coach, an ideal situation for guys like Doug Peterson? Is more of a defensive kind of minded guy, in my opinion there. I know he works with Andy and I know all that, but his background, he's a former quarterback. I know this. He loves tough defense. Doug Peterson, is that the kind of job you want in Jacksonville with Shade Khan, one of the biggest owners with money? He showed that he's going to go out and spend as much money as he possibly can. Is Doug Peterson a good candidate out there, do you think, for one of these job openings?
I do. I like Doug. I mean, I always thought he did a heck of a job. And that thing at Philly, you know, you're talking about the situation at Miami, Danny, that how could a good coach, this is a Super Bowl coach. This isn't a coach that won 9 games like in Miami. This is a Super Bowl winning coach, and all of a sudden you're going to step aside or get put. I mean, that's internal. That's friendly fire within the building. I think Doug will get a job, and I think he's more than qualified. I think he can be a little choosy. There's a lot of these young coordinators who, the first offer that comes, they're going to grab it. But I think Doug can be a little bit choosy. And I'll tell you what, this is a quarterback-driven league, and I don't know what they did with Trevor Lawrence. All I know is for 5 years, without a doubt, unarguably, he was the highest-rated prospect coming out since Peyton Manning. So the guy couldn't have become a bad football player overnight, So my point is that this guy is a special talent. And if he took it, he's saying to himself, you know what? I'm going to build around this. I got draft picks, and we're going to build around Trevor Lawrence and do it the right way. So it wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't, because there's a quarterback there.
Two last questions for you. Coach, Chicago, you had great success with the Dolphins. I mean, your resume speaks for itself. And again, we talk about places that don't get it right when it comes to the quarterback. Sid Luckman was the last all-pro quarterback that the Bears have ever had, and that's in the 50s. Why do they struggle? And Coach, I thought that killed you there in Chicago was the quarterback position. It wasn't anything else, but like you just said, Rex Ryan, you don't get that position right in this league, especially the way the league has gone. You can't have the Troy Aikman offense anymore, Coach, where you're just going to run it like that and not have to eventually win ball games in the pocket. You're going to have to win a game throwing the ball somewhere down the line. Not throwing shade on Troy at all, not at all, but that style, you have to throw the ball. Why can't they get it right in Chicago? Because I look at Justin Field. I mean, why do I believe they're going to hire a guy to develop the guy when they haven't developed the guy since 1950?
Yeah. I'm right in line there. I mean, I was there 6 years, as you know, Danny, and I had 6 different starting quarterbacks.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And you know who I was competing against? Warren Moon at Minnesota.
Yeah.
Brett Favre. And let's see, I forget who the guy at Detroit was, but he was a heck of a lot. I mean, he was a player. They were a playoff team then with Barry Sanders and Wayne Fontes. So, no.
Might have been Kramer there, Coach.
Yeah, it was Eric Kramer, and we ended up signing him to the Bears. You're right. Yeah, he beat us when we went up there in the playoffs. You're right, at Dallas. So I don't know. I mean, you're right. They just haven't, whether it's opportunity or picked the wrong ones. I know most recently, obviously, they went through Mitch Trubisky. I always thought that he was a better player if they would just do what he could do well. And now you got Justin Fields, and they really ran the same offense they did with Mitch, and you kind of got the same results, maybe not as good. Nobody in Chicago, God forbid if you mentioned that, they throw snowballs at you. But, because, they're hanging on in Chicago. This kid's got to be the answer. He's got to be. We've given away first-round picks and the future. I mean, he's got to be the answer. So I got to see more, but it's, a variety of reasons. I wish I had an answer, but it's what you're saying is absolutely true.
Coach, they only throw snowballs in Philly. 49ers
with batteries in them. I was at that game. At that game.
The Philly snowball. I told everybody, you just slip a AAA battery in there with it.
I was there. I was there in person. I saw him hit. They were coming at Jimmy. He was keeping from getting hit in the head. I was there.
Coach, I'll tell you this. I got the 49ers beating the Cowboys this weekend. I'll tell you why. I think they're more physical at the point of attack. Their quarterback does not look to be part of the running attack, which means they just line up and beat the hell out of you at the line of scrimmage. And, Coach, I'll tell you, that 49er defensive front four, that's a large group. That's a big-looking team, man. And I'll tell you, they're playing well. I think there's a lot of pressure on Dak. I don't think they can run the ball as people think they can. They played in the NFC least. Boy, I got that game really close, 49ers and Cowboys, and I think this is going to be a physical football game, and I don't know if Dallas is going to be able to hang with them physically.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like Dallas to win in the end because I think they got the better quarterback. Now, Jimmy G, hats off to him. At the end of that game last week, I mean, he was lights out. He couldn't play any better. Can he do it 2 weeks in a row? I don't know. I just think the Cowboys, the last couple of weeks, they've hit a pretty good stride, and they're playing with pretty good confidence right now. And with Pollard and Zeke, that offensive line, I mean, those guys aren't going to be intimidated. I mean, I know, I agree with you. It's going to be a physical football game, but I think the Cowboys are a better team on paper than what the Rams are. So I think the Cowboys win.
Coach, that national championship game, everyone's going, God, look at all these big dudes at 315 pounds running the way they're running. And I'm sitting here and I'm getting text messages from Winston Moss, and I'm getting text messages from Alonso. He goes, man, weren't you and Jerome 300 pounds running 4.8s? I'm like, man, these people don't get it, man. We were doing this 30 years ago, and everybody now is just caught up to Coach Wannstedt's defensive front four. We didn't blitz. Coach never blitzed. He didn't have to. We had 60 sacks one year, man. I mean, Coach, those teams are great, but they just caught up with us. Come on now.
Did they? Oh, yeah, that's right. No, I would agree. I would absolutely agree. I mean, it's and you look at some of the best defenses in the league right now. I mean, they're rushing for. Last year that was kind of the formula of 2 or 3 of the teams that got there down at the end. That not a whole lot of blitz, and they play pretty good. But you got to have players. Players Coach, win games, and we got players.
Tell you what, Coach, you guys were so amazing at picking talent, finding talent, playing talent, getting guys in right positions. I'll tell you this, it's the greatest coaching staff, because you know what you guys did? You not only solidified the fact that you're winning a national title and then Super Bowls, but you guys did it together. I mean, I can't think in NFL and college football history where a coach took his entire coaching staff and coach took everybody to Dallas. I mean, I hear he paid you like shit your first year, but hey, I'll leave that alone.
My fourth year.
He says you wanted you guys hungry like that game for – hey, Tony Casillas says this to this day, Coach. He goes, let me just tell you how bad it could get with Coach Johnson. We come back from Washington one day. We didn't play very good. He goes, I'm on there. I'm looking for my dinner. Jimmy goes, screw that. We're not eating. Nobody's eating anything. Nobody's getting dinner. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? It's a 4-hour flight back from Washington.
Yeah, no, they were and that's what got Urban Meyer. I mean, Jimmy brought his guys, and we had been through some tough times, and we had been through, super teams, championship teams. And we really had one voice, one way that we were going to – there was never a discussion about what we were going to do on offense or what we were going to do on defense or how we were going to teach it. Or, the coordinator sitting in there looking at the defensive line. Is that the techniques we want to use? I mean, we had been through all that crap, I mean, our group was – and then we hung out together and drank beer together, and we had a lot of fun. And whenever we did hit adversity, there was never a crack in the armor. Never a crack in the armor. I mean, we were I used to call us the Miami Mafia when we were in Dallas. Oh no, because we were just that close.
I'm going to leave you with this, Coach. I'm walking off the field. I think it was against the Raiders or something. The first year in Dallas, and Coach Johnson looks over at me, goes, well, I'll tell you this. I don't know about this day. I hear him. I don't think he heard anybody. He goes, this David Shula guy. I don't know. He's shaking his head. He's going like this. I go, Coach, you all right? He goes, oh, nothing. I can hear. I'm going to leave it there, Coach.
Good being on with you, Danny. Anytime.
Thank you, Coach. Love you, man. That is my friend Dave Wannstedt from Fox Sports. Yeah, we stay away from David Shula. I'll explain a little bit later on that one here. Please hit the like button. You keep it here on the National Football Show.